The fluorescent lights of Patterson Elementary's hallway flickered as Marcus Webb crouched down to retie his daughter's shoelace for the third time that morning. His knees protested. He'd been on his feet for 12 hours yesterday at the restaurant, but he ignored the ache and focused on making a proper double knot. "There you go, Maya. That should hold." Maya looked down at her purple sneakers, then back up at him with those enormous brown eyes that could see straight through to his fears. She was 7 years old and already understood more about their situation than any child should have to. "Thanks, Daddy." She shifted her backpack, heavy with textbooks they couldn't afford to replace if she lost them. "Remember, the bake sale letter is in my folder. Mrs. Patterson said it's really important." Marcus nodded, filing the information away with the dozen other things he needed to remember. Permission slips, school photos, the science project due next week. Single parenting was like juggling while running uphill. The moment you thought you had your balance, something else came flying at your head. "I'll look at it tonight, sweetheart. Promise." Maya hugged him quickly, fiercely, then ran off toward her classroom where other kids were already gathering. Marcus watched her go, his heart doing that thing it always did, pride and worry mixing into something that sat heavy in his chest. She was so brave, his little girl, braver than he'd been at her age, braver than he felt most days now. He was halfway to the exit when he heard it, a voice he didn't recognize, confident and clear, echoing down the hallway. "Excuse me? Are you Maya Webb's father?" Marcus turned to find a woman standing near the main office, mid-30s maybe, wearing clothes that whispered money in that understated way expensive things did. Tailored slacks, a cashmere sweater, leather boots that probably cost more than his monthly rent. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail, and she was holding a tablet like it was an extension of her arm. "Yes," he said cautiously. "That's me. Is there a problem?" "No problem at all. I'm Diane Chen. I'm coordinating this year's school fundraiser." She extended her hand and Marcus shook it, aware of how rough his palms felt against her smooth skin. Years of restaurant work did that. The heat, the constant washing, the small burns that never quite healed. "I wanted to catch you before you left. Maya's teacher mentioned you might be difficult to reach during the day." Marcus felt heat creep up his neck. Difficult to reach. That was a polite way of saying he worked constantly and didn't have time for phone calls or emails. "I work 2 jobs, but I check Maya's folder every night. If there's something important." "There is, actually." Diane pulled up something on her tablet. "The spring bake sale is our biggest fundraiser of the year. We're trying to get full parent participation this time. Every child should have a parent or guardian contributing baked goods and attending the event." "Right. Maya mentioned it. I'll send something." Marcus was already calculating. He could maybe swing by the grocery store, pick up cookies or brownies. Nothing homemade. He barely had time to make dinner most nights, but store-bought would have to do. Diane's smile was polite, but firm. "We're actually asking for homemade items this year. There's a real push for authenticity, you know. And parent participation means actually being there, at the sale. It's important for the children to see their families supporting them." The words landed like stones in Marcus's stomach. Be there. At 2 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon, when he'd be in the middle of lunch service at Romano's, the Italian place where he worked as a line cook. When missing a shift meant missing a day's pay, which meant choosing between groceries and utilities. "I don't know if I can..." "It would mean a lot to Maya." Diane's voice softened slightly. "I know everyone's busy, but this is about showing our children they're our priority. Every other parent is making the time." Every other parent. The words hung in the air between them, loaded with implications Marcus was too tired to unpack. Every other parent probably wasn't working 2 jobs to keep the lights on. Every other parent probably had a partner, a support system, options. "I'll see what I can do," Marcus said, because what else could he say? Diane nodded, satisfied. "Wonderful. The sign-up sheet is online. You can indicate what you'll be bringing, and Marcus?" She paused. "Maya talks about you all the time in class, about how hard you work. It would be really special for her to have you there." She walked away before Marcus could respond, her boots clicking efficiently against the tile floor. He stood there for a long moment, feeling the weight of one more impossible expectation settling onto his shoulders. Then he left, because he had exactly 40 minutes to get to his morning shift at the coffee shop. And being late wasn't an option when you were one paycheck away from catastrophe. Diane Chen sat in her car in the school parking lot, running through her calendar with the efficiency of someone who'd built an empire on ruthless time management. Board meeting at 10, lunch with potential investors at noon, conference call at 3, dinner with her sister at 7, which she'd probably have to cancel because the Tokyo office was 8 hours ahead and demanding her attention. She was the CEO of Chen Analytics, a data management company she'd founded at 26 and grown into a billion-dollar enterprise by 38. She had offices in 6 countries, employed over 1,000 people, and had been featured in Forbes 3 times. She was successful by every metric that mattered in the business world. And she was desperately, achingly lonely. The thought came unbidden, the way it often did in quiet moments. Diane pushed it away with practiced efficiency and focused on her tablet. The school fundraiser was her sister's idea. Get involved in the community, Diane. Meet people. Stop living in your office. And she'd agreed because her sister rarely asked for anything, and because the school genuinely needed the support. But coordinating a bake sale felt absurd when she had international markets to analyze and quarterly reports to finalize. Still, she'd committed, and Diane Chen always followed through. She pulled up the participation spreadsheet. 23 families confirmed, 32 total families in the class. They needed full participation to hit their fundraising goal, which meant personally reaching out to the holdouts. Marcus Webb's name stared back at her from the unconfirmed list. Diane frowned, remembering the encounter in the hallway. He'd looked exhausted, this man with kind eyes and shoulders that carried too much weight. There was something in his expression when she'd mentioned being there for Maya. Pain, maybe, or guilt, that had made Diane want to take back her words. But the fundraiser needed full participation. The school needed new computers, updated textbooks, resources that would benefit all the children, including Maya Webb, who was apparently being raised by a single father working himself to the bone. Diane made a note to follow up. She was good at follow-up. It was one of the skills that had made her successful. You identified a problem, you solved it, you moved on. She just wished this particular problem didn't make her feel quite so uncomfortable. Marcus made it through his morning shift at the coffee shop and his afternoon shift at Romano's on autopilot. Muscle memory carried him through drink orders and ticket times while his brain spun in circles around the bake sale problem. He could ask for the afternoon off. His manager at Romano's might say yes, might, or might decide Marcus wasn't committed enough and cut his hours, which had happened to another guy just last month. He could send Maya with store-bought cookies and just not show up. But the look on her face when he'd promised to read the letter, the hope in her voice when she'd said it was really important, that wasn't something he could ignore. He could try to bake something himself. Marcus almost laughed at the thought. He could cook professionally, sure, could turn out 80 dinners in a night without breaking a sweat. But baking was different. Baking required precision and patience and time he didn't have. "Order up!" The head chef's voice cut through his thoughts. Marcus plated the pasta, added the garnish, and pushed it through the window. 2 more hours until he could pick up Maya from aftercare. 2 more hours to figure out how to be everything she needed when he could barely keep up with what she had. That evening, Marcus found the bake sale letter exactly where Maya said it would be, tucked in her folder between a graded math test, B+, good job, kiddo, and a flyer for summer camp he definitely couldn't afford. The letter was cheerful and decorated with clip art cupcakes. It outlined the expectations clearly. Homemade baked goods, parent attendance required. Sign up online by Monday to indicate what you'd be bringing. Marcus read it 3 times, looking for a loophole that wasn't there. Maya appeared at his elbow, fresh from her bath, her hair damp and curling around her face. "Did you see it?" "I saw it." "Can you come? All the other parents are coming. Aisha said her mom is making special cupcakes." And Tommy's dad is making cookies that look like baseballs because Tommy plays baseball. Marcus pulled Maya onto his lap, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. When is it again? Thursday at 2 o'clock. We get to leave class early and help set up. It's going to be really fun. 2 o'clock, right in the middle of the lunch rush. Marcus felt the familiar squeeze of impossibility in his chest. I'll try, sweetheart. I promise I'll try. Maya nodded against his shoulder, but he felt the slight slump in her posture, the resignation of a child who'd heard, "I'll try" too many times before. What should we make? And she asked, her voice small. For the bake sale? What do you want to make? Brownies, maybe. With chocolate chips? Those are my favorite. Then that's what we'll make. Marcus had no idea how he'd find the time or energy to bake brownies from scratch, but he'd figure it out. He always figured it out. That was what parents did. Maya hugged him tighter. Thanks, Daddy, you're the best. Marcus closed his eyes and held his daughter and prayed he could actually be the best. Just this once instead of just barely enough. Sunday afternoon found Marcus in the baking aisle of the grocery store, staring at the wall of ingredients with the same expression he'd worn when facing his first tax return. Flour, sugar, cocoa powder, baking soda. They looked the same, but apparently they weren't interchangeable, and using the wrong one would result in disaster. Maya stood beside him, reading the recipe off his phone with the seriousness of a general planning a military campaign. It says we need unsweetened cocoa powder, not the hot chocolate kind. Marcus grabbed the right container. Got it. What else? Eggs, butter, vanilla extract, chocolate chips. She looked up at him. This is a lot of stuff. Yeah. Marcus did the math in his head, watching his grocery budget evaporate. But Maya's face was so hopeful, so excited, that he couldn't bring himself to care about the money. They'd make it work. They always did. They got home and spread everything on the kitchen counter. Their apartment was small, one bedroom that Maya had and a living room where Marcus slept on a pull-out couch, but the kitchen was functional. He'd cooked thousands of meals here over the past 3 years, learning to make magic happen with limited space and budget. Baking was different. Okay, Marcus said, pulling up the recipe on his phone again. Let's do this. Maya insisted on helping with everything. She measured the flour with intense concentration, creating small clouds of white powder on the counter. She cracked the eggs, getting shell in the bowl twice before Marcus fished it out. She stirred the batter with both hands wrapped around the wooden spoon, her tongue poking out in concentration. Marcus found himself relaxing into the rhythm of it. This was nice. Just him and Maya working together on something that wasn't rushed or urgent. No timer screaming at him, no tickets stacking up. No one depending on him to move faster, work harder, do more. Daddy, you're smiling, Maya observed. Am I? Yeah, you don't smile a lot anymore. Not the real kind. The observation hit harder than it should have. Marcus ruffled her hair. I smile all the time. Not like this. This is your happy smile. The other ones are your trying smile. He's 7 years old, and she already understood the difference between real happiness and the performance of it. Marcus wasn't sure if that made him proud or heartbroken. They poured the batter into the pan and slid it into the oven. While it baked, they cleaned up together, Maya chattering about school and her friends and the book she was reading. Marcus listened, really listened, and realized how often he only half heard her because his mind was somewhere else, worrying about bills or schedules or the endless logistics of their life. The brownies came out perfect. Rich and dark and studded with chocolate chips. They smelled like every childhood memory Marcus wished he could give his daughter. These are going to be the best ones at the bake sale, Maya declared, already reaching for the edge. Not until they cool down. Marcus moved the pan to the cooling rack, and we need to save them for Thursday. Can I have just one, to make sure they're good? Marcus cut them each a small piece. They ate standing at the counter, the chocolate still warm and melting on their tongues. They're perfect, Maya said. Everyone's going to love them. Thanks to you, Marcus said. You're a good baker, Maya beamed. Then her expression turned serious. You're really going to come, right? To the bake sale? Marcus thought about his shift at Romano's, about the money he'd lose taking the afternoon off, about his manager's face when he'd ask for the time. Then he looked at his daughter, who was trying so hard to be brave about everything, who understood too much and deserved so much more. "I'll be there," he said. "I promise." This time he meant it. Monday morning, Marcus called his manager at Romano's from the coffee shop's back room during his break. "I need Thursday afternoon off," he said without preamble. 2 o'clock onward. I know it's lunch service, I know it's short notice, but my daughter has a school event, and I need to be there. There was a long silence on the other end. Then, "Marcus, you know how tight we are on Thursdays. I can't just, I'll work a double on Wednesday. I'll take any overtime you've got. But Thursday afternoon, I need off." Another pause. Marcus could hear the calculation happening. Could he afford to lose a good line cook? Versus could he afford to be short-staffed during the rush? "No pay for the missed shift," his manager said finally. "I know. And you're on probation. Next time you ask for time off with less than 2 weeks' notice, the answer is no." "Understood. Thank you." Marcus hung up and leaned against the wall, his heart pounding. He'd just cost himself nearly $80 in lost wages. Money they needed. Money he couldn't really afford to lose. But he'd be at the bake sale. He'd keep his promise to Maya. For once, that would have to be enough. Thursday arrived with the relentless inevitability of a deadline. Marcus finished his morning shift at the coffee shop, went home to shower and change, and carefully packed the brownies Maya had insisted on decorating with extra chocolate chips. He arrived at Patterson Elementary at 1:45, 15 minutes early, and stood in the hallway outside Maya's classroom feeling completely out of place. Other parents were arriving too, mostly mothers, he noticed, dressed casually but put together in ways that spoke of time and energy Marcus couldn't imagine having. They carried elaborate cupcakes and decorated cookies, baked goods that looked professional, like something from a bakery rather than a home kitchen. Marcus looked down at his simple brownies in their disposable aluminum pan and felt inadequate all over again. "Mr. Webb," he turned to find Diane Chen walking toward him, carrying a tablet and wearing an expression of genuine surprise. "You made it," she said. "I said I would." "I know, but—" She stopped, seeming to reconsider her words. "I'm glad. Maya will be excited." Marcus nodded, unsure what to say. Up close, Diane looked different than she had in the hallway that first day. Tired, maybe, or uncertain. There was something vulnerable in her expression that didn't match the confident woman who'd cornered him about parent participation. "Are those your brownies?" she asked, gesturing to the pan. "Yeah, nothing fancy. But Maya helped make them, so they're special to her." Diane's expression softened. "That's what matters." Before Marcus could respond, the classroom doors opened and children began pouring out. Maya spotted him immediately, her face transforming into pure joy. "Daddy, you came. You're really here." She launched herself at him, and Marcus caught her, lifting her up despite his protesting back. She was getting too big for this, but he didn't care. Her happiness was worth any amount of physical discomfort. "Of course I'm here. I promised, didn't I?" "I know, but—" Maya hugged him tighter. "You're really here in the middle of the day when you're supposed to be at work." The fact that this was remarkable said something painful about their normal life. Marcus pushed the thought away and focused on his daughter. "Where do you want me to put these brownies?" Maya grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the classroom, chattering excitedly about the setup and which table would be theirs. Marcus followed, acutely aware of the other parents watching them with curiosity. He was one of only 3 fathers in the room. The only single parent, as far as he could tell. Definitely the only one wearing a flannel shirt that smelled faintly of coffee despite his shower, because the smell had seeped into the fabric from too many shifts. But Maya didn't care about any of that. She was radiant, showing him around the classroom like he was visiting royalty, introducing him to her friends with pride in her voice. "This is my dad. He works at a restaurant. He's a really good cook. We made these brownies together." The other parents smiled politely. Some asked questions. Which restaurant? How long had he been cooking? What was his specialty? Marcus answered as briefly as possible, uncomfortable with the attention but trying for Maya's sake. Diane appeared at his elbow. "We're going to start setting up the tables. Maya, do you want to help your dad arrange the brownies?" Maya nodded enthusiastically, and they moved to their assigned table. Marcus unwrapped the brownies and began arranging them on the disposable plates Diane had provided. They looked humble next to the elaborate cupcakes and artfully decorated cookies, but they were homemade and made with love, and that counted for something. "They look wonderful," said a voice beside him. Marcus turned to find a woman about his age, wearing yoga pants and a kind smile. "I'm Jennifer, Aisha's mom. Your daughter talks about you all the time. Good things, I hope. The best things. She's very proud of you." Jennifer paused. "I know it's hard being a working parent. My husband travels constantly for work, so I'm basically solo parenting half the time. I can't imagine doing it completely alone." Marcus wasn't sure if she was being sympathetic or condescending, but her expression seemed genuine. "We make it work. I'm sure you do. And for what it's worth, showing up today, that matters. More than the fancy cupcakes or the perfectly decorated cookies. Your daughter will remember that you were here." "Thank you," Marcus said, meaning it. The bake sale began at 2:30. Parents and students from other grades wandered through, buying treats and dropping donations in the collection jar. Maya stationed herself at their table, proudly telling everyone about the brownies she'd helped make. Marcus watched her glow with confidence and felt something loosen in his chest. This was why he'd sacrificed the money, why he'd faced his manager's disapproval, and would probably have to work extra shifts to make up for it, because Maya was happy, because she got to be proud of her dad just this once in front of everyone who mattered to her. Diane circulated through the room, checking on tables, answering questions, making sure everything ran smoothly. She was good at this, Marcus noticed. Efficient but not cold. Organized but approachable. She caught his eye once and smiled, and Marcus found himself smiling back. By 3:30, the brownies were gone. Every single one. Maya kept the money they'd made in a small pile, counting and recounting it with satisfaction. $73, Daddy. We made $73 for new computers. That's amazing, sweetheart. And people said they were the best brownies here. Mrs. Kim had 3. She said she's supposed to be on a diet but couldn't resist. Marcus laughed, genuinely amused. Around them, other parents were starting to pack up. The bake sale was winding down, considered a success by the amount of money in the donation jar. Diane approached their table as Marcus was helping Maya clean up. "Thank you for coming," she said, "and for your contribution. The brownies were a hit." Maya did most of the work. "I helped measure and stir," Maya added. "But Daddy did the hard parts. He's a really good baker." "I can see that." Diane looked at Marcus, and there was something in her expression he couldn't quite read. "It means a lot that you made the time. I know it wasn't easy." Marcus shrugged, uncomfortable with the attention. "She's my daughter, of course I made the time." Not every parent would have. Diane's voice was quiet, almost wistful. "Some things matter more than work." Before Marcus could respond, Maya tugged on Diane's sleeve. "Miss Chen, are you a mom?" Diane looked startled by the question. "No, I'm not." "Then why did you come to the bake sale?" "I thought it was just for moms and dads. I helped organize it, made sure everyone knew about it and had what they needed." Maya considered this. "But you don't have a kid here, so you did all this work just to help other people's kids?" "I suppose I did." "That's really nice." Maya smiled up at her. "You should come make cookies with us sometime. Daddy makes really good cookies on Saturdays." Diane's expression softened into something that looked almost painful. "I'd like that." Over the next few weeks, Diane found herself thinking about Marcus and Maya more than she should. She'd text Marcus occasionally about school events, and he'd respond with brief, friendly messages that somehow always made her smile. One Saturday, she finally worked up the courage to take Maya up on her cookie offer. She showed up at Marcus's apartment with grocery bags full of baking supplies, nervous in a way she hadn't been since her first board presentation. Marcus opened the door in sweatpants and a faded t-shirt, looking tired but genuinely happy to see her. "You came." "I was invited." Diane held up the bags. "I brought ingredients. Too many ingredients, probably. I wasn't sure what we'd need." Maya appeared behind Marcus, already wearing an apron. "You're here. We're making chocolate chip cookies, Daddy's favorite." The apartment was small and clearly lived in, nothing like Diane's pristine townhouse, but it felt warm, like a home where people actually lived instead of just existed between work commitments. They spent the afternoon baking, laughing at Diane's complete incompetence in the kitchen. She burned the first batch, forgot to add sugar to the second, and somehow got flour in her hair. But Maya thought it was hilarious, and Marcus was patient and kind, teaching her the basics without making her feel stupid. "How do you run a company but can't measure flour?" he teased. "Different skill sets," Diane said, laughing. "I can analyze market trends. Apparently, I cannot bake cookies." "Here." Marcus moved behind her, guiding her hands as she stirred the batter. "Like this, gentle but thorough." They were standing very close. Diane could feel the warmth of him, smell the faint scent of coffee that seemed permanently embedded in his clothes. It felt intimate in a way that had nothing to do with baking. When she finally went home that evening, flour-dusted and happy, Diane realized she'd just had the best Saturday she could remember. No deals, no meetings, no emails demanding her immediate attention. Just cookies and laughter, and the beginning of something that felt like belonging. The relationship grew slowly, carefully. Weekend baking sessions turned into family dinners. Dinners turned into park visits and movie nights. Diane learned to braid Maya's hair and helped with homework. Marcus taught her to cook basic meals and teased her mercilessly about her coffee snobbery. Maya bloomed with the attention of two adults who clearly adored her. And Marcus, for the first time in years, felt like he wasn't carrying everything alone. 3 months after the bake sale, Diane invited them to her house. Maya was stunned by the size of it, running from room to room with wide eyes. "It's like a palace," she said. But later, when Maya was distracted by a movie, she turned to Diane with that too perceptive expression. "It doesn't feel like a home, though. It's too empty." She was right. Diane's house was beautiful and expensive and completely impersonal. "You're right," Diane admitted. "I've spent so much time working that I forgot how to make a place feel like home." "We can help," Maya said simply. "That's what families do." The word hung in the air. Families. Marcus caught Diane's eye and something passed between them. Understanding, maybe. Hope. "Yeah," Marcus said softly. "That's what families do." 6 months after the bake sale, Diane's house looked different. There were photos on the walls now, candid shots of Maya laughing, of Marcus cooking, of the three of them at the park. The refrigerator was full of actual food. Maya's drawings were held up by magnets, and there were shoes by the door that didn't belong to Diane. It looked like a home. One Saturday morning, while they were making pancakes together, Maya looked up at Diane with serious eyes. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Can I call you Mom? I mean, I know you're not my real mom, but you're here. You help with my homework and come to my school stuff and make my dad happy. That seems like mom things." Diane's hand stilled on the mixing bowl. She looked at Marcus, who was watching her with careful hope in his eyes. "I would be honored," Diane said, her voice thick. "More honored than anything else in my entire life." Maya hugged her fierce and tight. "Thanks, Mom." That evening, after Maya was asleep in what had become her room at Diane's house, Marcus and Diane sat on the back porch watching the stars. "Thank you," Diane said quietly. "For what?" "For seeing me. Not the CEO or the money or the success. Just me." "Thank you for seeing us," Marcus replied. "For not seeing a struggling single dad and his kid as a project or charity case. For seeing a family worth being part of." Diane leaned into him, fitting perfectly against his side. "Is that what we are? A family?" "Yeah," Marcus said, pressing a kiss to her temple. "I think that's exactly what we are." They sat together in the quiet evening. Three people who'd found each other by accident and stayed by choice. From inside, they could hear Maya singing softly to herself, safe and loved and surrounded by people who'd do anything for her. Diane thought about the bake sale, about how a simple question from a 7-year-old had changed everything. How showing up, really showing up, had transformed 3 lonely people into something whole. She'd spent her life chasing success, measuring her worth in dollars and deals and quarterly reports. But this, she thought, holding Marcus's hand under the stars while Maya's voice drifted through the open window. This was what actually mattered. Not the empire she'd built, but the family she'd found. Not the billions in her account, but the love in her home. Not what she'd achieved alone, but what they'd built together. And for the first time in her adult life, Diane Chen felt truly, completely rich.